What's going on, everybody? Kalipa's Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, we're going to be doing a comparison between the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2022 and the OnePlus Nord N200 5G. Now before we go any further, I do want to remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you want to learn more about either of these phones, be sure to check out my full reviews and tips and tricks videos for them as well. But with that being said, let's get started. So the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2022 has a 6.8-inch 90Hz IPS LCD display with a resolution of 1080p, a PPI of 396, an aspect ratio of 20.5:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of about 84.6%. We got a hole punch up here for the front-facing camera, and this camera is 16 megapixels. Now the OnePlus Nord N200 5G has a 6.49-inch IPS LCD display that also has a 90Hz refresh rate as well, with a resolution of 1080p, a PPI of 405, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of about 83.7%. So these phones both have really good displays. They are really similar in almost every way, with really nice looking colors and really sharp, crisp images thanks to the 1080p resolutions. And they both have 90Hz refresh rates as well, which is going to make the movement on the screen a little bit faster and smoother, which is great for content consumption. And when you're just navigating through the phone in general, it's going to feel a little bit more premium. But really the main difference here is the size. Clearly the Moto G Stylus 2022 is much larger than the OnePlus Nord N200 5G, and this is going to give the Moto G Stylus an advantage when it comes to content consumption because streaming videos and stuff like that is going to be better on a larger display. And in addition to this, the Moto G Stylus also has a taller form factor, which is going to make landscape mode look a little bit better. And if you're reading something, you'll be able to fit more on the screen without having to scroll as much. So in general, while both of these phones have really good displays with similar specs, if you're going to be doing lots of content consumption, I would say the Moto G Stylus 2022 is going to be a little bit better. Now the N200 5G also has a hole punch front-facing camera, and this camera is 16 megapixels as well, so again, really similar. Now for storage, the Moto G Stylus 2022 is getting 128 gigabytes of internal storage with microSD card expansion, and the OnePlus Nord N200 5G is getting 64 gigabytes with microSD card expansion as well. So clearly the Moto G Stylus has an advantage here. Yes, there is microSD card expansion with both of these phones, but if you're a power user, I would say the Moto G Stylus 2022 is going to be a better option because it's nice to have more storage on the phone itself to begin with. But that being said, even the 64 gigabytes you get with the OnePlus Nord N200 5G is still pretty good. So if you're more of an average user, if you're not doing a ton with your phone, the Nord N200 5G should do the job just fine. Now there's no wireless charging with either of these phones, but they both have fingerprint scanners right here on the power keys. Definitely a nice spot for them, since you're probably going to be pressing this button to unlock the display anyway. In addition to this, both of these phones have face unlock, so it's nice to see that with these phones, you get two options to get into them. But now, starting with the Moto G Stylus, we're going to go ahead and give these fingerprint scanners a try and see how well they work. There we go, one more time. And there we go, real fast and responsive, no issues here. Moving on to the OnePlus Nord N200 5G. There we go, one more time. And there we go. So both of these fingerprint scanners are real fast and responsive, no issues here. And once again, I will say it's really nice to see that both of these phones have face unlock too. Now taking a look at the rear camera setup here, with the Moto G Stylus 2022, we got a triple camera setup with a 50 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera that also doubles as a macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera for portrait mode. With the OnePlus Nord N200 5G, we got a triple camera setup as well, with a 13 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. So overall, both of these phones do have pretty good camera setups, and they take pretty good pictures as well. But I will say, the Moto G Stylus 2022 is definitely better in pretty much every way. Not only is the photo quality itself better, but it has pretty much all the features, including an ultra-wide camera, whereas with the OnePlus Nord N200 5G, we're only getting a macro camera in addition to the regular cameras. And in this day and age, I really feel like all phones should have ultra-wide cameras. It's such a basic feature. I've even seen $50 phones with them, so I really think that mid-range phones like these should all have ultra-wide cameras. But unfortunately, with the OnePlus Nord N200 5G, we're not getting that feature. But it is nice to see that at least the Moto G Stylus Stylus has it. So if taking pictures is one of your top priorities, if you're taking lots of photos, whether it's for social media or whatever, and you want all the features you can get, then the Moto G Stylus 2022 is probably going to be a better option here. But if you're not too concerned about taking photos, but you still want the option to take a few nice ones here and there, then the OnePlus Nord N200 5G is still going to get the job done. Now for video, both of these phones do have a max recording quality of 1080p in both the rear and front cameras. A little disappointing on the part of the Moto G Stylus, because the previous version of this phone, the Moto G Stylus 2021, did have the ability to shoot in 4K, but for the sake of this comparison, there's really no difference in the video quality. Now internally, the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2022 is getting 6GB of RAM with the MediaTek Helio G88 processor. The OnePlus Nord N200 5G is getting 4GB of RAM with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 480 5G processor. I ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on both of these phones, and the Moto G Stylus 2022 came back with a single core score of 368 and a multi-core score of 1304, and the OnePlus Nord N200 5G came back with a single core score of 463 and a multi-core score of 1584. So definitely quite a difference here. The OnePlus Nord N200 5G is going to be the faster device out of the two. Now, will it be in a whole nother tier? No, it really won't be. But at the same time, if you're on your phone a lot, you're definitely going to notice a difference in performance, especially if you're doing slightly higher end activities, or again, even if you're just going to be on your phone a lot, maybe you use social media all the time, or you're always browsing the web and streaming videos, then in that case, the OnePlus Nord N200 5G might have a little bit of an advantage here, because again, it is a faster device. In addition to this, as the name suggests, the OnePlus Nord N200 5G is a 5G phone, so if you want 5G connectivity, this is definitely something to keep in mind. But that being said, the Moto G Stylus 2022 is still not bad, and I definitely haven't had any performance issues with either of these phones. So again, if you want the faster of the two, the OnePlus Nord N200 5G is going to be it, but still, if you're doing moderate activities like browsing the web, using social media, streaming videos, the Moto G Stylus 2022 is still going to get the job done. Now, both of these phones do have 5,000 mAh batteries, definitely real large batteries, with the Moto G Stylus 2022 supporting 10-watt fast charging, and the OnePlus Nord N200 5G supporting 18. So yeah, the OnePlus Nord N200 5G does charge a bit faster, but in practice, in the grand scheme of things, it's really not going to make that big of a difference because both of these phones do charge up real fast. But that being said, it is nice to see that both of these phones have really large batteries. With batteries like these, you're not only going to get enough battery to last through the day, but probably multiple days depending on how you use your phone. And down the road, as the battery starts to degrade, it's not going to affect you nearly as quickly as it will with a smaller battery, since with a 5,000 mAh battery, you're already starting out with so much more battery capacity than you even need. So if you like to get one phone and keep it for a long period of time without replacing it, either of these phones will be a great option because of this. Now another thing to keep in mind, some extra features here. The Moto G Stylus 2022, as the name suggests, does have a stylus down here. Now this isn't the greatest stylus in the world. It is pretty much exactly what you would expect from a mid-range phone, maybe a little bit better. I will say the stylus is a tiny bit more sensitive than the one in the Moto G Stylus 2021 that came out last year. But if you want to do any serious drawing or anything like that with it, it's probably going to be a little bit underperforming. But as you can see, if you want to just take some random notes or doodle or something like that, it's going to be perfectly fine. And then of course, if you want to do something like navigate through the phone itself with it, then again, it will get the job done just fine. Now the OnePlus Nord N200 5G may not have a stylus, but one thing it does have that the Moto G Stylus 2022 doesn't is NFC. In case you don't know what it is, NFC is the technology behind contactless mobile payment services like Google Pay. So if you want to use that feature, out of these two, the OnePlus Nord N200 5G is going to be the way to go because this phone, of course, can use Google Pay, whereas the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2022 doesn't have NFC, which is definitely a disappointment here because pretty much every mid-range phone besides these Motorola phones is getting NFC in 2022. So I don't know why Motorola hasn't caught up yet, but unfortunately, I guess that's just how it is. So if you do want to use NFC, then the OnePlus Nord N200 5G is probably going to be the better choice. But now that we've gone over some of the specs of the phones, let's take a closer look at the devices themselves. So on the left side here, for both of the phones, we got the slot for the SIM card and the micro SD card. With the OnePlus Nord N200 5G, we got the volume down, volume up. On the bottom here, we got the 3.5mm headphone jacks, microphones, USB-C ports, speakers, and of course for the Moto G Stylus, we got the stylus right here. On the right side, we got the power keys that again double as fingerprint scanners. With the Moto G Stylus 2022, we got the volume down, volume up. On the top of the phones, we got the noise canceling microphones. On the backs, we got the camera setups and the flash. Now these phones actually have pretty much the same finish, except obviously the OnePlus Nord N200 5G is blue, and this specific Moto G Stylus 2022 is pink, although you can also get this phone in blue, in which case it would look pretty much exactly the same as the OnePlus Nord N200 5G. But overall, both of these phones do look really sleek and modern. Definitely really nice looking phones, especially for their price ranges. And I would say that honestly, except for the size, I think these phones are pretty much equal in quality and appearance. But in conclusion, which of these devices is better? I would say in almost every way, the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2022 is going to be the better device here. It has a larger display with a taller form factor, double the storage, a much better camera setup, and of course it has a stylus if that's a feature you care about. But on the other hand, this really is not a one-sided comparison because the OnePlus Nord N200 5G really holds its own here with 5G connectivity, a much faster processor, and NFC as well. So basically, if you want a phone with a better display that can take better photos, and maybe if you want to use a stylus, then the Moto G Stylus 2022 is going to have an advantage here. But if you want a phone with more processing power, and you want features like 5G connectivity and NFC, then the OnePlus Nord N200 is definitely going to be a better option. So really at the end of the day, I feel like in most people's cases, the Moto G Stylus 2022 might be a little bit better. I don't really know who out there favors which type of features, but at the end of the day, both of these are really high quality mid-range phones with a great amount of features and really good performance as well. And if you're looking for a mid-range phone in 2022, these two are both great options to consider. Now once again, if you want to learn more about either of these phones, be sure to check out my full reviews and tips and tricks videos for them on the channel. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you found this information useful as well. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. But as always, I will see you in the next video.